There is nothing as sinister and dangerous and just disappointing as the idea that Zohran Mamdani is going to be mayor of New York. I have never seen a man lie and hide his true feelings. Obama was pretty expert at that, but this guy is somehow it's even worse. I mean, the guy is even worse in some ways because I think his hostility is so much closer to the surface and so proved. It's proved that he hates the country, that he hates people, that he hates people who aren't Muslims, that he's just a nasty, nasty guy with an excellent smile. And so every time I see him saying the nonsense that he sees about free this and free that, free is a word like dragon that describes something in your imagination but doesn't describe anything in real life. And so when somebody says something's going to be free, you know he's lying to you. And I see people just believing this stuff, and I think, who could be this stupid? Today, we're going to find out. We're going to watch a couple of videos, of TikTok videos of people who support Zohran Mamdani and try and find out what is on their mind. This is brought to you by expressvpn.com/Andrew Klavan Show, which is for smart people. expressvpn.com, Andrew Klavan Show. ExpressVPN will protect your data when you're online. It's for smart people. But now we're going to watch some people who support Zohran Mamdani instead. Let's see one.
Fox News is so funny to me, bro. Like, imagine having to go on and trying to be like, that evil socialist, he wants to give baby baskets to newborns, and he wants to give you a raise? Oh, how dare he? We need to be afraid. Like, that is crazy. Like, that is deep levels of, like, zero empathy, one. Like, needs to be evaluated by a psychiatrist. Like, if you are trying to convince me that giving resources to infants and newborns is somehow a bad thing, while also, like, allowing people to have a minimum wage, like, they gotta go on and fill an hour-long segment trying to paint this as evil socialism. That's crazy. That is crazy.
You could open that guy's head without killing him because there's nothing in there. I mean, I guess that's part of being a young, I don't know how young that guy was, but there is a place before you're about 25 where you actually can't make connections. Does it ever occur where the stuff comes from that people give you? I mean, if I walked up to him on the street and said, follow me, little boy, I'm going to give you a red balloon, would he follow me and think, why wouldn't I want a red, what kind of stupid people? Because think you shouldn't take a red balloon. It's amazing. He doesn't think like, what does it cost for this guy to give me something? After all, he's giving it to you from a position of something called power. And he's not giving it to you for free. He's giving it to you so you will give him power. And when he has the power, you don't have the power. The power has to go somewhere. It's not enough for both of you. It's going to go to him. And, it's just that kind of, I don't know, there's a certain point, I guess, in your IQ level where you're up here, normal IQ, and you're thinking, if somebody offers me something for free, I want to know what the price is because free doesn't exist. And then you're where that guy is, and you're thinking, oh, good, it's a free thing. Let's watch another one.
The name is Mamdani, M-A-M-D-A-N-I. The name is Mamdani, M-A-M-D-A-N-I. You should learn how to say it, M-A-M-D-A-N-I.
Okay, so this is answering my question. What kind of people are so stupid they buy into this thing, this hostility? Then they're stuck because once they do it and once they've made a complete fool of themselves, they're not going to be able to say like, oh, I was dumb. And then they have to make a song like, bam, 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 I'm an idiot. They're not going to make that video. So that's going to be a little difficult for them. All right, another one.
The Jewish New Yorker born and raised in Israel, this is what I have to say about Zohran Mamdani's anti-Semitism. It isn't a thing. Since Zohran's won the primary, he's been subject to explicitly anti-Muslim hate speech, not just from Republicans, but from fellow Democrats. Senator Gillibrand was forced to apologize for suggesting on air that Zohran supports global jihad. Of course, there's no evidence for that. Eric Swalwell said he doesn't associate himself with what Zohran said about the Jewish people. There's a reason Eric can't cite a quote, and that's because it doesn't exist. Laura Gillen said on TV that Zohran made calls for violence against Jewish people. Laura, when did that happen? When did that happen? If you can't answer that question, it's because he never said that. It's because you lied to the public about a Muslim man wishing violence upon Jews. So why am I so pissed about this? Ever since I was a teenager in Israel, I objected to the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians, which is why I refused mandatory military service in the IDF. As an American Israeli, I moved here to New York. And as someone who deeply cares about human rights and climate justice, I was so excited by Zohran's campaign. New York needs to be a place that anyone, especially the working class people who built it, can call home. This means making sure it is safe for everyone.
I wonder, Israel, I don't think can deport it's Jews, right? You can't deport Jews from Israel, I don't think. But somehow they got rid of this girl. They said, wouldn't you prefer to live in America? Zohran Mamdani said that when a policeman's boot is on your neck, the boot was laced by the IDF, which is essentially saying Jews from a foreign country have something to do with policemen here who are oppressive. There's so much stupidity and evil packed into that one sentence. It's almost a direct quote.
We have to make clear that when the boot of the NYPD is on your neck, it's been laced by the IDF.
There's so much evil and hostility and anti-Americanism packed into that sentence that he'd only have to say that. Plus, he has never rebuked people for basically calling for the utter annihilation of Israel, a place where she lived, and the only place where anything like ethnic cleansing is intended. The Israelis are not in no way trying to cleanse, destroy the Palestinian people, but there are people who are among the so-called Palestinians, namely Iranian-backed terrorists, who are very much dedicated, openly dedicated, to erasing the Jewish people only before they enslave everybody else. So I guess it's just the question, like, how can people be this stupid, has not been answered. But the question is, what kind of people are this stupid? I think we have now given you, this is journalism at its finest. We have now answered that question. Your online activity isn't private. Data brokers track everything you do online, your browsing, shopping habits, and even your beliefs. And in the U.S., they can legally sell this information. Companies buy this data to target you with ads. Social media platforms use it to control what content you see. And during elections, it's used to influence your vote. To protect your privacy and maintain your autonomy online, you should be using ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN routes all your online activity through secure, encrypted servers, making it impossible for your internet provider to see what you're doing online. That means you can browse without feeling like someone's watching over your shoulder all the time. It also hides your IP address, the unique number that identifies you online and allows data brokers to build and sell profiles about you. Without access to your IP or activity data, these companies have nothing to work with. I use this all the time, and I like the fact that it's extremely simple to use. Just one click activates protection across all your devices, and it works on up to 14 devices simultaneously. Find out how you can get 4 months free by scanning the QR code on screen, clicking the link in the description box below, or by going to expressvpn.com/Andrew Klavan Show.
Mamdani talking to that woman on CNN about wanting to implement grocery stores in food deserts and how there's a lot of fast food places on every corner, but there aren't as many grocery stores. And her response is it going to be like the Soviet Union? Oh my gosh, that is such a lazy response. And I'm surprised that she's even allowed to work at CNN with that lazy of an answer. Like, you could have said something like, okay, well, how do you plan on keeping the grocery stores efficient if they're run by the government? How do you plan on keeping the waste low? Or literally anything of substance. But you decide to say, is it like the Soviet Union? I live in Michigan. I don't even live in New York City. I saw a comment that was like, I wish I lived in New York just so I could vote for Mamdani, and I thought that was so funny. I just think it's interesting. I'm not like super into politics, but when I have a slice of free time, sometimes I do my research. I do some history scrolling and stuff, and that was an interesting find. That's for sure.
Well, she might have looked up what grocery stores were like in the Soviet Union, because I can tell you in one word, empty. They were empty. You couldn't get a loaf of bread. You had to stand online to get a loaf of bread. Why? Because everything was going to be fair and everything was going to come from the government and everything was going to be free. Again, a word that refers to something in the imagination like dragon, but not in real life. And so that was the question that was being asked at the moment. Aren't you going to have the same problem using the same system as the Soviet Union used? If you're going to use socialism, you're going to get socialism stuff. And socialism stuff means empty shelves, no bread, no food. And that, it just does. It's just the way it works. Plus, it also means authoritarianism. And this is the thing that absolutely nobody, even the people on the right don't talk about this, that if the state is controlling the money, then the state is in charge of your life. And if the state, for instance, pays for your health care, the state decides when to stop paying for your health care. That's why you have things like in Canada where they have assisted suicide. They're not helping you. They're lowering the cost of health care by killing you, by allowing you to kill yourself. That's what they're doing. And, when they were talking about Obamacare and we were saying, gee, there'll be death panels, meaning there'll be collections of doctors who describe when they no longer feel it's worthwhile to give you health care because you're old or maybe you're ugly or whatever, and you're just going to let you die. They say there won't be any death panels. It'll just be a panel of doctors deciding when you die. It's not going to be death panels. It'll just be panels of death. And so that's the question. But I don't think she's paying too much attention, as she said herself, and so she doesn't know. This is kind of fascinating in a tragic way. It's fascinating like watching a drunk run a car into a wall. We have one more. Let's watch it because then this will be over.
Let me cut to the chase. I am once again asking for your financial support. Billionaires have already spent $19 million to try to defeat Zohran Mamdani for mayor of New York. In this last week, they're going to spend a hell of a lot more. Our job is to do everything that we can to bring out the vote. Let's get our moms and our dads and our co-workers, our uncles, our aunts, everybody else to the polls. If we do that, we're going to make history and elect Zohran Mamdani the next mayor of New York.
The definition of being crazy is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Here's a guy in his 80s who has seen socialism fail again and again and again, and yet he's never changed his mind.
Socialism to me means democracy with a small d. I am not affiliated with a political party. I am an independent who happens to be a socialist.
He honeymooned in the Soviet Union. We now know about the mass murders of the Soviet Union. We would have known about them before if the New York Times hadn't covered them up. The absolute atrocities, the terror, and then after the terror passed, the starvation, the grimness, the dullness, the sharing apartments with families and things like that so that nobody had a place of his own. Unbelievable stuff. This guy has never, ever changed his mind. The most telling thing that Bernie Sanders ever said was he said, we need to have socialism like in Norway. And somebody said, they don't have socialism in Norway. So, well, I'm no expert on Norway. Then where can you cite where it's ever worked? It's never worked. It doesn't work because it takes away all the incentives for working and nobody does anything. And guess what? It's coming to New York. Congratulations. You're a great city for the next, about 2 days, and then you're done. If you want less socialism but more great content, like and subscribe, and also subscribe to The Andrew Klavan Show wherever you get your podcasts.